So you have a tender rate and your love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trace and some super glamping. One idea, deep news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints podcast.
Sponsored by Midland, communication for every adventure. The industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by My Medic. Sponsored by Tembo Tusk. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DeMoss Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by BrewTrek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Oh, how's it going, Phil? I am broadcasting this podcast today from Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, wow. So how is it? What's the weather like?
Well, I wish I could say the weather was nicer, but at least in my realm of how I like weather, it's not what I like. It's cold. You got to remember, I'm camped pretty much right by Yellowstone Lake. So we're about, what is that, 7,000 feet. It is overnight, it went down to the low 40s. And let's see, we're midday and it's about 63 now. So it's pretty cool. And it has been raining, but it stopped raining now. So that's better. But drove in from I've been in Montana for a month, I realized, and I just left Montana yesterday to enter into Wyoming here in the park. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
A month. It just seemed like I saw you a couple of weeks ago. Well, that was in Montana.
Literally in Montana for a month. And so now I'm in Wyoming, making my way slowly down towards Colorado and Overland Expo in Loveland.
Mike, have you ever seen the documentary The Men Who Built America?
Sounds familiar. I don't recall.
It came on the History Channel, and it was like a documentary series, but they had like actors and stuff, and
okay.
They had people like Rockefeller, Carnegie.
Yep.
Is it Rothschild?
Rothschild. Who's the guy that Vanderbilt?
No, Vanderbilt. Right.
Vanderbilt.
It was a documentary, but they had actors, and then they would switch over, and then they would talk to modern day people like Mark Cuban, Donald Trump, stuff like that. So what I'm leading up to is I went to a listening party yesterday for the not yesterday, the day before, for the Elon Musk Trump interview.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a listening party, bunch of Overland outdoor 4-wheel drive guys.
Really?
Yeah, we were in the forest, used Starlink to listen. Starlink,
the one that was broadcast live on X.
Right. And so we were actually using Elon Musk's technology to watch him interview Trump. But anyway, it was a great party, and it wasn't like a pro-Trump or a pro-Harris. It was just a bunch of people. It was more about hanging out and partying, more so than even though people were intently watching it. But one guy brought his son. His son is 18 this year, and he's going to be voting for the first time.
Mm.
So I thought that was really cool. But he asked a question, just being young. He just asked, he was like, so what's so special about this interview? And I heard a bunch of answers, and I didn't hear what I thought I would hear. And my answer is because it reminds me of watching those documentaries of the men who built America. I thought, whether you're into, I don't care about politics. What intrigued me about it is that you basically have two titans that if we were going to do a documentary in this era, they'd be in that documentary.
Absolutely.
But unlike them, those notable people in the past very rarely physically crossed paths or talked on a phone together or whatever. So whether you like either one of these guys or not, that was a very historical moment for those two gentlemen to be talking in that type of venue, in that type of situation, and considering what's going on now, it actually being a presidential event.
Even more so, you mentioned that, you may or may not like them, one or both of them, which is interesting because that was a very similar sentiment with most of those other guys that you talked about back in the day, but it's been brought to the forefront by social media and communication and news and everything. So we get our information a lot faster. And you got to remember those two guys, Musk and Trump, they didn't actually like each other before. I don't know if you remember, but they were, so.
Well, a lot of people don't know Elon Musk was very liberal.
Yeah. He
has even stated that he voted for Obama.
Yep. Yeah, they're as by the way, as was Trump. I mean, Trump used to be on the left as well. So
he was a big donor.
Yep. So it's interesting, that that went on. I watched some of that, and what I liked about it was that it was conversational, and it was less. I actually think I enjoy that style better than I enjoy the debates and the press conferences, talking point kind of things, because that's what it is. It's talking points, right? They're just putting out sound bites. And I felt like that when you sit down with a conversation the way that those guys did, it was a little more organic and it was a little more just the real person showing up. So I liked that.
I think more people could hear them. And what I mean is comprehend.
Yeah.
A lot of people watch the debates and things like that and other interview formats. And the person, they sit there and they listen to them. But if you ask them to give back the details of what they just heard, they don't really recall much of the conversation.
Yep.
The format they used allowed more people to absorb.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Agreed.
Yep. So, we wouldn't go a podcast without talking some politics. Hey, I actually, this is not, well, maybe it is. I got a question for you, being from the Pacific Northwest. I don't know if you've heard a lot of the scuttlebutt and talk about Starbucks, and they just, they're going through CEOs like, they're going out of business. And they just announced a new CEO. The last guy was only in there for a month, and their sales are down across the board. I mean, we talk about the economy a lot. I mean, one of the things is obviously Starbucks is super expensive, but more so, holy hell, I don't know if you can hear that right now, but it is absolutely pouring. So much for my not raining. All of a sudden, it just opened up out of nowhere.
I can hear it.
Wow. Welcome to Yellowstone Park, folks. But I've noticed, particularly since I spent a lot of time out west here, I just came out of Montana, and then in the Pacific Northwest, there are so many options for coffee and for that style of place that are amazing and local. And to me, Starbucks is sort of generic, right? I mean,
it has become. They were a little guy at one time
in the beginning,
right?
Yeah,
it's a whole different vibe now.
And that's my point. So I remember going to Starbucks back in the day where it was like baristas and, there was talent involved and it was an experience. You'd sit there. They've gone way away from that model now. Basically, they want you to hell out the door immediately. It's more to go, take out, drive through. And, I mean, I'm trying not to rain on everybody's parade here that works for Starbucks for sure. But I mean, the talent level is not the same as it was back in the day. You know,
and for some of our younger viewers, they may not know what we're talking about. There was a time that college educated people sought out barista jobs because companies would just grab them right across the counter and be like, hey, you want to work for me? Because Starbucks had a reputation of their employees were top notch.
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore.
Way downhill, and then there's so much competition out there. At a Kalispell, you know, I went to Black Rifle Coffee Company has a location there, and then some of the little Glacier Coffee and all these different little places. Same thing coming through West Yellowstone here. I just noticed. So I was just thinking because I was reading the news, looking at they were whining and moaning and groaning about how poorly Starbucks is doing, and then I had just come out of some local coffee shop, and I go, yeah. Because it's nowhere near as good as any of these places. And maybe it depends on where you are in the country. You know, me being from New England, I don't think the coffee scene has really hit there yet. You know, it was largely for many years dominated by Dunkin' Donuts, which I think is terrible. My
wife loves Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I know it's funny. Some people love them, some people hate them. I hate them. But, and I was a Starbucks guy, but we didn't have a lot of options. And I think if you frequent places that you do have options, you realize Starbucks kind of at the bottom of the bucket.
Yes. My initial attraction to them is how they were like the Apple store of coffee shops.
Yep.
It was a cool place to hang out. I remember people used to literally spend thousands of dollars buying laptops and different things that they didn't need just to sit in a Starbucks. Yep. It was a social place.
That's right. And now, so their new CEO came from a background of, fast food chains. I think most recently he was with, I'm going to get this wrong.
Chipotle.
Yep. Chipotle. And then I think before that, one of the Yum brands, I don't remember if it was Kentucky Fried Chicken or A&W or I don't know. One of them.
I thought it was for Yum, not for one of the particular.
Could be. Yeah. Maybe it was just Yum. So interesting. It'll be interesting to see what direction that takes the chain. But it's too expensive. I mean, if you go in there and get, like, I'll just give you an example. I would get, a what wasn't called grande. What's the one bigger than a grande at
Venti.
Starbucks? Like, anyways, I go in and get the Venti iced tea, and it's like, I don't know, $4.50 or something. And it's like, it's iced tea. It's water with some tea leaves in it.
Right. I used to argue with people originally because the complaint has always been how expensive Starbucks is. And people always say $5 coffee. And I used to always hit them with, no, the coffee is $1.50. Mm-hmm. It's the drinks that are $5.
That's right.
But the regular coffees and regular tea has caught up. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So anyways, that's our interesting thing for today. So what are we going to talk about today on the podcast, Phil? I'm kind of excited about this.
All right, guys, you've probably come specifically for this. Me and Mike are going to give I think we agreed upon our top 5 people who inspired us to travel and explore. So
yes.
We've agreed that we should first give what's the requirements or what's the standards we used or the basis in which we came up with these people. So I'll let you go first, Mike.
Oh, of course. So you're going to notice a couple things about my list, which might, I don't know. See, I don't know what your list looks like, Phil. So neither one of us, in fairness, know what the other guy's list looks like. So you might be surprised. Maybe you won't be surprised. My list is dominated by what I would call, I don't want to say younger, but they are more current generation people. So believe it or not, all 5 of my people are today in today's world, let's say. In fact, out of the 5 of them, I actually have 6, so maybe I'll go honorable mention. But out of the 5 or 6 of them, 4 or 5 of them are still alive today. So that is probably different than maybe what some of you might have expected. In addition to that, I have actually met some more than others, but I have met all of them in person. So that might be a little bit surprising as well. Some of them I know, or I spent some interesting time with. I can give you stories. Other ones I saw more on a professional level, I say as a speaker or something else. But I've actually seen all of them in person.
So, Mike, I think we should have done separate shows. Just do one show on yours, because I think yours is going to be way more intriguing than mine.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what are yours? I mean, what's different about your 5 than what I just described?
Well, I have a certain kind of mindset about peers. Or people in my generation, or maybe people in my age group and things like that. So it's almost impossible for you to make this list if you're alive. You may have done something that I want to do, but I don't look at you on a pedestal or more special or above me. I look at you just another dude. I can't wrap myself around the idea of being inspired by you. You may inspire me and like, oh, you went there, now I want to go, but that's about it.
That's fascinating.
Like, let me give you a little piece of trivia about me, Mike. Chicago, the health club that I used to play ball in every day, I used to play ball with Michael Jordan like 4 or 5 times a week. And all the NBA ball players in the summer would play at the health club that I went to. So I got to play with a lot of players. And I remember other members of the club, they treat Michael Jordan so special. And like, he'd call BS fouls and they'd give him the foul without arguing or nothing. They just treat him different.
Mm-hmm.
And I never treated him that way. And I never wore Michael Jordan shoes. And I don't wear Michael Jordan shoes to this day. And I have never worn any signature basketball shoe because that dude is alive. And
yeah. So it sounds like we're looking at it a little bit different. So the people that are on my list inspired me in different ways to travel over the many years that I've been doing this. And some of them, in one in particular, I met while I was traveling, and he gave me a different outlook on some of the places that I think I was going and things. So I guess it's interesting. I by the way, I'm with you. I would echo what you said. A couple of these people, they're normal people. Like, I don't worship them. I'm not wearing their shoes either, per se. But they definitely inspire. And I think about some of the things that they do. And I think you're going to notice when I show you the list, they're maybe not exactly what a lot of you guys are thinking about from a quote overlander perspective, because they definitely bring many different things to the table.
I told what's not on my list. So let me tell you what did make these people be on my list. It's over a lifetime. Most of these people as a child inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who they put the first nuggets in my mind that there's a bigger world. There are so many different things to do. There are so many different realms to go into. And the other part is, these were people who they didn't limit themselves. Every one of these people has a list of achievements. Every one of these people never was satisfied, was continually curious throughout their life. And another thing is, every one of these people, they were rough and rugged, they were explorers, but they also had an elegance about them. They had some sort of aesthetic about the way they carried themselves. Some of these were ladies' men. Some of these men were, well, I don't want to go and give out too much. Some of these people were aristocratic.
Let's talk about our top people and why they're on the list. Let's just go with that. You have to start because you made me start on the last one.
Okay, so
here comes Bambi. Is it Bambi?
So am I starting with my number one or my number five?
So I didn't put them in order. I don't have them in any order whatsoever. I'm just whatever one you want to go with.
Okay,
I mean, unless you put them in order. I haven't put them in order.
I can go any kind of order you want to go. So my natural way to give the order is, he's not my number one, but he's the first person who is what I just described, someone who did a lot of things in a lot of different areas and was accomplished in all of them. He was a highly intelligent person. He was a highly curious person. He was a person that was part of the aristocracy of his time. He was everything. He was the first person to show me there's more. You know, a kid always thinks he knows everything and he knows nothing.
Yep.
But this person made me realize I really, really don't know nothing, because every time I saw him, he taught me something and he showed me something new. So the first person on my list is Jacque Cousteau. I grew up watching Jacque Cousteau's TV programs. The wonderful, I should have had it. I think.
I mean, there was so many.
The Undersea World of Jacque Cousteau.
Yeah.
There were so many. Almost every show, there was a scientific discovery made by him that is a notable thing on every show. That's crazy.
And I'll add, I think a lot about Jacque Cousteau, living down in Baja over the winter, because Jacque Cousteau was largely one of the ones that was kind of responsible for Cabo Pulmo National Park, which is where I camp down there. So, his research and his lead particularly in the marine world is second to none.
Well, something I used to really, really, really enjoy doing was scuba diving. That could not exist without him. He created scuba gear.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't called that at the time. It was called the aqua lung. But that's what your scuba gear is today.
Sure.
Is his creation. And a lot of the undersea submarines that they have, the high pressure ones that go very deep, he created some of the first ones.
Yep. And was successful with them, unlike the one that went down to the Titanic.
Right. So this, and I'm not even mentioning his military service. I'm not even mentioning his political contributions. I'm not even mentioning his philanthropy. This guy is so multifaceted. And I'm not going to give a bunch of details about him because I want people to Google him. I want people to go on YouTube and look at the videos to see what inspired me instead of hearing what I got to say about him. Jacque Cousteau, in my opinion, is a man's man. He was attractive to the world for many reasons. He was articulate. He was intelligent. He was an explorer. He was a soldier. He was everything.
Yeah.
So, and this was one of the first people I ever saw exploring. When I would turn on a TV, this was the only program that you saw anything like that. Now you go on Netflix, they have all kind of documentaries about everything, and they're using $400,000 cameras and all of this. He's the start of all of that.
Yep.
There was none of that before him. It was him and Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. That's about it. That was your full scope of programming. So Jacque Cousteau is
I love it. I love it. So my first one, going to go in a totally different direction. She's one of the most badass women. So I'm bringing in a woman on the first one here. Phil's like, whoa.
Because go ahead.
No. So she's actually still alive. She's, believe it or not, I believe she's around 90 now. And I'm talking about Jane Goodall, who is probably best known for her research in chimpanzees and being in Africa. But I can tell you, prior to my traveling on the road some 25 plus years ago, she was one of the most inspirational people to me, because she brought to me, very similar to what you said about Jacque Cousteau. I'd see programs on television. I think she's written more than 20 books, and she's been on numerous TV programs. And she opened up not only for my eyes to the animal life that is in Africa, but the people, the environment, the terrain there. And she's been largely responsible for a lot of the human things that have occurred in those areas, as well as the animal, as the non-human side of it. So Jane Goodall is right on the top. If you don't know about her, which you really, I can't believe anybody has not heard of her. Definitely, she's another one to look up. Fascinating story of somebody that is, and this is, by the way, all happened. I started out the podcast talking about how they're all current modern day people. I mean, she goes back to a time where you had to be a particular badass to be out in the middle of nowhere in Central Africa, right? So she's like, I look at her as like one of the original pioneers of the overlanding in really difficult conditions.
A parallel that she has with Cousteau is that there are things that she did then that were big deals that are just part of how things go now.
Yes.
Most of the refuges that are in Africa for wildlife and the way that they are structured, how they profit, how they save the animals, all of that comes from her being in Africa. She's on a lot of political boards or whatever you call them for different parts of Africa. She's still talking about conservation and the environment.
A lot of the national parks that are over there came about because she's an example, in my opinion, of somebody where colonization, because colonization, particularly by the British and the French in Africa, is a sore subject. Many times it was negative. I think she's an example of a good side of the colonization, where the British came in, and her conservation efforts with the Africans have largely, to be honest with you, is responsible for the reason that we can go over there and go on safari.
And a lot of knowledge that we have about this, another parallel with Cousteau, is a majority of the basic knowledge that we have about primates, specifically gorillas, all comes from her research, all comes from her time. And again, if you don't know who she is, this is another person I feel like you should Google, and you should watch her. What was the movie?
Yeah.
Type in her name and type in movie, and it'll pop up.
I can't remember either.
But
she's done a lot of movies.
Yes. She could be a lot of people's number one, even though she's not on my list. If somebody said that was their number one, I could say nothing. Yeah. Absolutely good choice.
All right. So we've got Jacque Cousteau and Jane Goodall out of the way, two icons really so interesting. So both of them correlate because they were experts in their field for sure, and they were all about the exploration side. So that's interesting.
Okay, so my first person was Cousteau. I'm going in a totally different direction. The first Cousteau, he inspired me. He just gave the initial spark. This next person kind of sculpted the direction that I currently go as far as the things I do and travel and stuff like that, and where those ideas came from. The person I'm about to mention has a lot to do with the whole idea of me on this microphone talking to you doing a podcast. And it is Charles Bishop Kuralt. Charles Kuralt is how most people know him. And for those who don't know who he was a journalist for CBS.
Great choice.
And he did a show. Well, he did a segment on the CBS Evening News, and it was called On the Road. I know you've watched Charles Kuralt before.
Oh yeah.
People
and he didn't pass away that long ago. I don't think, right?
No, it's been a while because he
I say not long ago, but within the last 20 years. No?
Why don't I just look it up?
I don't know.
But he's been dead for a while because he had some kind of health issue, which was the reason why he became who he became, which I'll get into in just a second. He died in 1997.
Okay, so a little longer than I thought. 25 years.
Yeah. So he was a reporter, and he did not like his job. He didn't like basically showing up to these pools, interviewing people, and then his health got bad. So he didn't like his job. His health was bad. He had to figure something out. He went to his bosses and said, hey, give me a bus, give me a 5-man crew, and let me travel around the United States in this bus for 3 months, and let's see how it goes. Well, it went great. It went like almost, maybe 30 years long, great. So basically, he drove around the United States reporting about unique people, and he never took the highway. He always took back roads. He always went to the small towns. You know, he didn't go to the big cities. He didn't do none of that. And the people he would find interesting people. And so that was the whole inspiration behind everything that I do pretty much. The reporting, the traveling back roads extensively in almost all small towns. And I'm basically following him. I just don't have CBS to back me. If CBS is hearing this,
maybe Phil wants a job.
So, we were talking about where you are, and I was talking about I like to come through Red Lodge and take the Beartooth Highway. Well,
beautiful.
It's because as a child, he took the Beartooth Highway. He was the person who coined the phrase that it was, I think, the most beautiful drive in America, or the most beautiful road in America. Yep. So I've driven it so many times, I don't have a number anymore. But the reason why I do it is almost like a homage to him.
Yeah.
I've read his books. I've rewatched segments like a year ago. I just sat and binge watched several of his shows. So
where are those available for our listeners out there? Where can you see those still?
Well, I just go on YouTube.
Yeah.
And type in Charles Kuralt. Yeah. And they pop up. So that's how I do it.
That sounds good.
But very entertaining. He was again a person who, what he did was unusual at the time, but now it's commonplace today. You see food shows, you see travel shows where they go on the back roads and they take a bus and they meet unique people.
Sure.
That's all him. There was nobody.
Yep.
That was not a part of journalism. Your turn, Mike.
So I was going to, going with the theme, I was going to actually talk about somebody else, but now I've switched up which one I'm going with next because I think these flow together and possibly could be a good inspiration. So my next guy up is no longer alive. However, he was extremely inspiring me and we've talked about this on the podcast. What do you and I love to do, Phil?
Eat.
There you go. Anthony Bourdain is my second guy. And going right along with Charles Kuralt, it would be, here's a guy that is probably at this point, particularly since I followed him so closely, more known to me on what I would say is his second hobby, which would be the travel part, right? So what I liked about him was he brought together the food aspect and the traveling part. And really, for him and for the people that watched him, I think it was more about the places that he went, the people that he experienced, and the relationships that he built on the road, than it was actually about the food. But the food was sort of like, I like to say, like my orange truck as an example is sort of the calling card, if you will. Like people see it. Like this morning here, I'm parked in Yellowstone. They come up and they say hi. It attracts people. For Anthony Bourdain, I think the food was the connection, but the travel and the connections with the people were far more important to him. And on a personal level, I got to listen to him speak through the food side of it, but on a personal level, he traveled to so many interesting places. And one in particular, there's a show that he did traveling down the Congo, which I've done. And when I watched that show, I could not believe that the network, for one, and the producers and everybody even allowed him to do the show. And some of the locations that he went were just, I can't even believe that he went there. And I had done that particular route down the Congo River in Zaire. So fascinating. He was certainly an inspiration. Obviously, super talented, and sadly is no longer with us. But he would have been only 60, or he died at 61. So somebody that also in the media business, correspondent.
People who know me are probably shocked that he's not going to be on my list. So I totally see. I get this. I totally get this. There's one thing that he did at the end of his life that I didn't like. You know what that is. And so that just, he can't be an inspiration for me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously a tough thing. I mean, he some of his talent, I think, came from his years of deep, dark struggles and, the drug abuse and everything from his earlier career, certainly when he was in the food business, is unfortunate for sure.
And this is just a total guess from the outside looking in. It seemed as though everything you said is accurate, but the travel, and as he got bigger and he was allowed more access to more things, he realized things aren't going to get better.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because he had a very direct way of looking at things. In fact, you saw that if you watch some of his later series, travel. What was the name of the damn series?
I don't know, but it's on CNN. And I watch them all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. So when he was traveling around, I think it was Discovery Channel, then CNN, right? Parts Unknown was the name of it. But if you watch the later Parts Unknown, you
hear the cynicism in them.
Yes. Yeah. You could hear the struggle for sure. Yep.
Because he reached a point where it was nothing for him to call a king or a queen or a dictator or whoever and say, can I sit down and eat with you? And when you finally sit down and talk to all of these people and you realize they all don't care.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And he was a emotional person, and some people can't handle something like that.
That's right.
Which obviously it was something he couldn't handle.
Yeah. Yep.
But he did give us a gift to the world because another person, he changed travel. That's why we have Andrew Zimmerman and people of his ilk, because of the tone that he set. Yeah. There are a lot of people who are overlanders indirectly. They may not bring up his name, but I guarantee you they watched his initial shows, and some of the places they want to go, they came up with those ideas watching his show.
Yep. And I could tell you, as an overlander, full-time nomad myself, a lot of what he did rubs off on my thought process, is why he made my list. Because when I go to a place, one of the first things that I want to do is experience the local cuisine, the local food, find the local dive shop, whatever it might be. That comes from his ideas.
Mike, whenever we travel together, finding food is probably like half of our journey.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to the grocery store, whether it's cooking, whether it's going to a restaurant, a bar, whatever. And a lot of that has to do with, I wouldn't say he inspired it. I already had that in me already by the time he came around. But he absolutely made it flourish. And it was enjoyable watching his show, because I can rewatch his stuff all the time.
Yep.
My wife loves him.
All right, so we've got four good people so far. Who's number 3 on your list now?
All right, Mike. So this next person is someone who I feel, when I say his name, you may know who he is. But in general, I would say in most conversations, when I bring up his name, people have no idea who I'm talking about. And when I talk about his exploits, they like, how don't I know who he is? How's that possible? This person on my list is, I relate to him in many ways. One is because he has a similar journey as some other people on my list that are far more notable historically. He's actually done more than them. And it's just a crazy story for it to be true. So my person is James Pierson Beckwourth.
That's another good one. Wow. Pulling him out of the hat.
And so for those who don't know, this guy was born in 1800. He was a fur trapper. He was a rancher. He was a businessman. He was an explorer. He was a scout. He was an author, and he was the chief of the Crow Nation of Indians. He was the chief of the Crow Nation of Indians, and he was a black man. And this was in 1800. So let me run. It was
just a story on I forget what network had a story about him, or it was integrated into another show just recently.
I don't know.
I'll have to look it up.
But like, for instance, Beckwourth Pass, that's him. A lot of to this day, some of the highways that we have that go across America, east to west, those are the original pathways that he discovered from the east to the west in his explorations. He has a lot of explorations that are similar to what Lewis and Clark did.
Yep.
A lot of explorers, a lot of settlers used his information, used his places to camp. He made a lot of peace for the Crow Nation with the Americans that were invading, because he could speak English. That's partially why he was able to become the chief, is because he was able to be that intermediary and actually save their lives. He was a great businessman. He had a large percentage of the trapping business going on, but you never hear his name. That was a big thing during the 1800s. Spain and other countries were trying to find a mid-passage to get to all the beaver and the fur and things like that. He had a booming business with all those fur trading companies. He was the one supplying all of them. He literally had the Indians fur trapping, and he was like the CEO. And I'm not even really telling you everything about this guy. He traveled over the entire Western U.S. and earned his name as one of the most influential frontiersmen of the time. If you look into the notes and memoirs of a lot of famous people who are more notable in his time, his name pops up. This guy is like the Kevin Bacon of his time. There's 6 degrees of separation between his story and so many other famous people.
I just looked it up because I was trying to remember. The Harder They Fall was a 2021 film that was played that he was in. Well, he wasn't in, but it was his character was in. So
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I knew I saw something with him in.
Oh, no, I hate to disappoint
His role was
you.
played by actor R.J. Kleiler.
I saw the movie. I saw the movie. His character absolutely is in there, but if a person is looking for the history, that's not the movie to watch.
Yeah.
The movie, all of those characters were not alive at the same time. Really
Interesting.
Yeah, I've watched the movie. I know everything about it.
Huh.
All of those characters are real characters.
Yeah, but not together.
No.
Interesting.
They created that, so the story is not true, but all of the people in it are real.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that was a good movie. You saw that movie?
Yeah.
Good well, not old, but old-fashioned style cowboy movie.
Yeah.
It kind of had like a Tarantino type feel to it, in my opinion. Yep. So that's my guy. I want people to look him up. James Pierson Beckwourth.
Because that's a little bit less well known for sure, but and it brings up an interesting point. A lot of times the less known people were more responsible than the heroes that we have all heard of, right?
Right. Because I made a point of mentioning Lewis and Clark.
Yep, which everybody's heard of.
Okay, his story is like that on steroids.
Yeah.
And not just one trip. He did stuff like that continually throughout his life.
Yep. So my next guy is going to be another one that you're going to have to Google probably. Most people, I think. He is the reason that I like him so much, he is actually mine and Phil's age. Okay. So he's still exploring and he's our age. And he is from originally from South Africa. He's Swiss. I met him in doing a seminar, actually. And what I like about this guy is that he's probably most famous for completing a non-motorized journey solo around the equator. But he has done a bunch of Arctic things. He has done sailing expeditions. He has done things with vehicles. So he's sort of a multitasking guy. He's currently doing don't quote me on this. He's circumnavigating the world in some way right now. His name is Mike Horn. I don't think the vast majority of you guys have heard of him probably, so Google him. He is a fascinating guy to listen to. He's written a number of books. A lot of the books are in French. I think they've been translated to English now. But he is sort of what I would consider to be a modern day, when I want to think of something like, who's the guy that did the polar or the Antarctic expeditions?
Oh God.
I had to say something that
I know who you're talking about, but giving names, man.
He's kind of the modern day equivalent of that. He did the Amazon on foot. He's done did the North Pole. Yeah, they did a North Pole thing. They're the only people that ever, him and another guy, went to the North Pole in the winter, in the dark. So he's just fascinating. Like, and admittedly, some of his maybe the attraction for me is like his type 2 fun. He's probably more on the expedition, adventurous, do it to do it kind of guys, for sure. But he's certainly a modern day guy that's my age. That's a badass. So look him up, Mike Horn.
Mike Horn. Okay, I'm gonna have to check him out, Mike.
I follow him on Instagram, so I see his posts all the time. I don't remember. I'm looking right now to see what he's on right now. I don't know what he's doing. He's also pretty famous for mountaineering, so he's done a number of climbs and stuff as well. I don't know what he's doing right now. I can't remember. But anyways, Mike Horn, look him up.
Okay. Are we back to me now?
You're back to you. Moving right along here. We don't want to run too long on this podcast.
So my next one is Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. I've spoken about them before. You already know that I'm like a big fan of theirs. People who know me know I have literally traveled across the United States and tried to visit as many historical sites. And there are a lot of historical sites because of their travel.
I was about to say, I've been through just in the last like month and a half, 2 months. I've seen just a numerous amounts of them.
The area you have been in is probably the most historic area as far as the story of the expedition.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Lewis and Clark were sent on an expedition by Thomas Jefferson. And it was basically to explore basically the whole other 3/4 of the United States all the way to the West Coast, find a water pathway, find a pathway, and to also do some negotiating with the Indians. And that sounds like not much, but during that time, that meant basically being a frontiersman, a hunter. You had to do it all. And out of all of these, this is the one where we keep telling you to Google and watch a movie. There's thousands of documentaries and books and stuff. So I'm not going to recommend a particular one, but if you don't know their story, you got to watch at least one documentary, read at least one book about them. A lot of the history of America is intertwined with their story.
They're the original American overlanders.
I'll go for that. I'll take that. I'll go with that. Yep. And I don't really want to get into the story. Go watch the movie or read the book. And I'd be shocked if people don't have a general idea of the story. But once you start really getting into it and the details and what happened when they were in this state and when they got to this pass and when they got to the water, you really get the details of the story. It's one of the greatest stories ever told.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's so many documentaries and books. I am shocked that we haven't had a top-notch box office movie made about their story.
Similar to like, you could do, what's his name that makes Yellowstone as an example. I mean, you could do an entire, HBO series on their expedition. Yeah.
I like that idea even better because a movie would really be squeezing things. Yeah.
Too short. And by the way, Phil, the other way to find out about those, their travels and their story is to get out on the road and go to some of these places. They're marked all over the place. I'll be going along and I'll see a sign that said, Lewis and Clark something or other. And I pull over and I read the little roadside plaque that this is the pass that they came over there. And I mean, just some fascinating stories.
If you're in the Midwest, and if you have the time and the ability, do the whole Natchez Pass trip.
Yep.
And half of that is following their path.
Yep. That's a good one. I like that one. We're doing good here today.
Okay, it's on you, bro.
Oh, boy. All right. Another guy that I'm going to give you a 50-50 for those listeners out there that you might have heard of him. If you're a Land Rover guy, you probably heard of him. I met him a long time ago at a Land Rover show. He's also, by the way, still alive. Has written a number of books. The one book in particular that put him on this list for me, well, two things. One, he actually drove across the Sahara Desert, was one of the first people to ever do that by wheeled vehicles in Land Rover 101s, which for those of you that know me is the first guy, is my first orange truck. It was a Land Rover 4 Control 101, a military truck. But his book, Vehicle Dependent Expedition Guide, which is kind of funny how we all live as nomads and as overlanders, written by Tom Sheppard. And so Tom Sheppard is the guy. If you've not heard of him, he's written a 4x4 driving guide. He's written a book called Quiet for a Tuesday, which describes his journey through like out in the middle of nowhere in places that I've been to, like in Libya and Algeria. So he was a huge inspiration. I don't know how he must be probably 90 now. Another interesting fact is one of his books was co-written and some of the forwards were done by none other than Jonathan Hansen, who founded Overland Expo. So there's those guys are buddies, a big connection there. So Tom Sheppard, another real world guy that I know basically through my Land Rover background, but I can remember when we went and did our 2001 expedition across Africa. We read every page in that Vehicle Dependent Expedition Guide 1,000 times, and went over and over and over again. Because he talked about things you need. You heard me say on this podcast a lot. Weight is the enemy. Well, I got that from Tom Sheppard. I mean, that was his big thing, talking about weight in vehicles. And so, anyways, Tom Sheppard makes my list.
Okay. Back on me, Mike?
Back on you, Phil.
All right. So this person, if we had been ranking them in order, this is my number one.
Okay.
So let me preface this by saying, he stimulates me in different ways is the best way to describe it. Okay. When I think of him and you said, give me one word, my word would be aesthetic. Okay. Because there are people who have done some of the things he's done, but it's not just that he did it. It's the way he did things. He did things in a grandiose, classy, yet macho type of way. He figured out a way to take different parts of manliness and put them together in my mind.
Yep.
The well-dressed gentleman, the explorer, the corporate person, the ruffian. He embodied all of that, and it all blended well. So that's why I use the word aesthetic. Ernest Hemingway, he was a novelist, short story writer, journalist. He was a sportsman. He was a world traveler. He was a playboy. He was a soldier. He was a good-looking guy. Even though he lost some of his athleticism with an injury to his leg, he was a physically imposing person. Not that he was so big, but he walked in a room, and he was one of them kind of dudes. When he walked in the room, everybody knows he walked into the room.
Yep.
As a novelist, just about all his books have become movies, great movies. He was a person whose writing style, the writing style that he has now, probably seems like nothing now. You've probably read all kinds of books with similar writing style, but he was the originator of that simple, to the point style of writing. That's his thing. It was called the theory of omission, the way he wrote. I don't have to give every detail. You're an intelligent reader. So I liked the way he wrote. I liked the way he loved. He dated beautiful women across the world. When you would see the places that he would live, it may be a simple place, but the aesthetic of the places he lived. You can go certain places now, and they save his room the way it was when he was there, so you can see how it looked. And it's just the type of pen he would use, the moleskins he wrote, the type of shirts he wore, the boats that he sailed. I could go on and on. I liked he was like the James Bond of overlanding and travel, in my opinion.
You mentioned that because I spent a lot of time in Key West, Florida, and I know when I went to Cuba, he had spent a lot of time down there as well. So his story is fascinating, and has a lot of correlations, by the way. Sadly, so particularly at the end with Anthony Bourdain. That I should have had him on my list too. Wow, that's a good choice, Phil.
And just some last, you like Africa. He was a big game hunter. He did safaris. I'm talking about the real deal safaris, not these ones they got now. The real deal bushwhacking safaris. He did those in Kenya, Tanzania. He hunted Cape buffalo, lions, and rhinos. He deep sea fished on the Cuba coast, in the Caribbean. He was a great marlin fisherman. What else you want?
I agree. Perfect.
So that's my number one. That's
a great one.
That's like, I obviously don't have the same kind of style as him, but he's the person that made me say I'm going to have a style.
Yeah.
Yep. So
all right.
You don't know,
what's that?
No, I was just going to say, people, please look up Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, well, gosh, if you haven't heard of Ernest Hemingway, you've been hiding behind some cave somewhere.
Bro, a lot of these names, people don't know about them as much as you think anymore. We getting older, bro.
It could be right. You could be right. So my last guy also is alive. Another one that's alive. He's older for sure. Interesting. I'm going to start with a story. He's known for something else besides travel, but I actually met him in person and I got to hang out with him for an entire night, actually drinking beer. So I was traveling at the time through Mali, and I was coming into Timbuktu. And when you get to Timbuktu, right before, you have to take a little ferry across the river that's there. And there were 4 Land Rovers coming at full steam across the desert, and we also had 4 Land Rovers. So there were 8 Land Rovers, and we won the race. Let's just say our 4 Land Rovers got to the ferry in good time, and the boat came across the river, because it was always on the other side, right? So you'd show up, and then they'd see you, and then they'd come across and pick us up. Well, little did they know, I guess they got confused about these white guys from somewhere else in the world. They took the wrong guys. So our expedition with 8 guys and 4 trucks got into Timbuktu and got settled into our little hotel, and decided to hit the bar that was in the hotel and have a couple beers, long deserved, for crossing the desert. And in comes some guy, puts his hand on my shoulder right behind me, and says, with a British accent, says, "I think you stole my ferry, so we had to wait. But hey, can I buy you a beer?" And it turns out it was none other than Michael Palin. And Michael Palin, most people know him from Monty Python, fame as being an actor. But not as many people know that he was and still is a world traveler, and has written numerous books and television shows about his travels around the world in 80 days. Pole to Pole. When I met him, he was doing his Sahara series. Most recently, I think he did something on Iraq and back in Niger. So he was certainly an inspiration and a really interesting guy. In fact, I have a book that he signed and wrote out a bunch of stuff for me, saying, talking about meeting in Timbuktu. So, it's just an fascinating story to meet a guy like of his caliber in a weird place. Here in the middle of the Sahara, and turned out to be a super nice guy. His team was great. We had actually met his support team a couple days before that, when we were doing some truck repairs in, I don't remember where we were. I think we were somewhere in Mali. And so I kind of knew he was in the area, but little did I know that we'd be having beers with him at night in a pub in Timbuktu. So Michael Palin is definitely inspirational for many reasons. Once again, he's another guy that makes the list that is probably known for one thing, but through his television and his travels, he learned that that's what life was about, was to go and find what other people were doing in other places. And he was a generally interested. I just remember him being very interested. I've got some pictures actually of us all standing in the courtyard of the hotel we were staying at with actually, I got him wearing a Drive the Globe hat. But that's my story for Michael Palin there.
All right, Mike, I like your list. We came at this like from totally different angles. And I like that. I'm glad we didn't get together on this, because your list may have affected mine. No, that's been my list forever. I don't think it would have.
So who's number 5? Who's your 5th one?
That was it.
Oh,
you gave 6.
You're right. I was last because I'm so excited. Let me give you an honorable mention, because I got one more honorable mention.
Well, I got honorable mentions if you want them, but
yeah. Well, here's one that both you and I know.
Okay.
So another person that's alive, and her name is Patty Upton, and we've met her at Overland Expos, and her husband, Lauren, who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, they also did a 5-year expedition in a Jeep around the world. And fascinating, now that I've gotten to meet her on a personal level, I've gotten to see the Jeep that they used and the story about going through the Darien Gap, because I don't know who you are, if you're an overlander or in the adventure travel world, and don't at some point dream about driving through the Darien Gap or going around the world or going through Africa. But she's a badass. He was a badass, and I had to mention them. So,
well, that was who I was going to say. I was going to say Patty. She was like I said, she's alive. That's the only thing that she doesn't have going for her.
As is the rest of my list.
But yeah, I vividly remember when me and you attended her, is it a seminar or her workshop?
Yeah. And
she was telling her story, and I'm not no wimp. I don't, I can literally tell you every time I've ever cried in my whole life, because it's only been that many times.
Yeah.
But one of those times was listening to her story at an event, and it was other big burly men in the audience, like almost all of them, which was
like
crazy.
Everybody, like all of us. Yeah.
Am I exaggerating, Mike?
You're definitely not exaggerating. I am super excited that we're gonna be seeing Patty Upton in about a week and a half at the Overland Expo in Loveland, Colorado. And if you have not seen her and you're in that area and you're coming to Overland Expo, do not miss seeing Patty Upton give her presentation on her world travel. Don't miss that.
That's right. And Mike, you know how some of the people that you mentioned, you were like telling about how you met them and different things like that. Like, to me, that's like a notch on my belt. I consider that a notch on my belt, that I can go on my phone and read off a text from Patty Upton to me personally. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That when I see her, sure, she gives me a hug and I talk to her. She is a living
it's a podcast,
legend.
Phil. It's okay.
But she is a living legend, bro.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
She literally made me make some changes about everything that I'm doing since I met her. She has impacted my thought.
Yes. Yeah. Ditto. And that's why I definitely would include her on this list of people that have inspired us to travel, have generated interest in our minds to expand our horizons and to get out there and just do it. And that's what today's podcast was about.
And if you are looking for inspiration, one of the things you should have picked up from us is there's no it's whoever inspires you. It doesn't have to be for a certain reason. Find someone who inspires you for whatever buttons that you need pushed. Don't just because that's the popular guy, you follow him. Find your own person.
Agreed.
Anything else you want to say, Mike?
No, that's a good one, Phil. I mean, I love to get out the people that I support and that, inspire me for what I do today. And, like we've talked about so many times on so many podcasts, it's about the adventure. It's about getting out, meeting people, doing things. And ultimately, you may just inspire somebody else.
All right, guys, you know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully we'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.